time to take a stand. How can Americans stay strong? Be proud that we are Americans. Be proud that this great country was built on Judeo-Christian values. Be proud that we have a country with a strong military that vows to protect the Constitution of the United States of America. And thank those brave men and women who fight and stand up for us. We must ask ourselves, how will I stand strong for America? For me, it will be through prayer, it will be through voting, and it will be being part of CPG, making a stand for my values and beliefs. I've stood back too long. Standing strong to support the Constitution of the United States of America, and not bowing down to terrorist threats and fear. How will you stand strong for America in the next few months, in the next years? How will you stand strong for your children to have the same freedoms we have? Thank you, and may God bless America, the greatest nation on this earth.
Was there a weakness that they could exploit? You know, we look out and we see a world in need of hope and leadership. We see the Western world awash in weakness. And whether they're unable or unwilling to defend their own freedom, they depend on us. The single light, we're it. George Bush said there's a natural yearning for each heart to be free. You have to realize that on September 11th, we found out there were a lot of other forces out there that tried to deny that natural yearning. And that they have a power and a strength that must be resisted. And it's difficult to resist. It takes massive amounts of effort. It takes an enormous amount of American blood and treasure. On 9/11, we found out that we must be vigilant. We found out something else about our country. We were outward looking. We were able to defend our borders, but we weren't sure how to defend ourselves. Well, some things had to be done, and they have been done. We've been safe for many years now. One of the things that needed to be done is we need to stand up as Americans, as people who believe in this country. And we have to engage and convince our neighbors of its greatness. It's not perfect, but it's the best this world has, and it may be the only hope this world has. We need to remember why we're special, what they were trying to take away. We must memorialize 9/11, remember and recommit, never let it happen again. America showed strength on that day and after that day. It's that strength, that unity, and that purpose that I hope we can reaffirm each and every year on this day. I'm going to introduce the rest of our group here. Appreciate everybody again for coming out. Mayor Rick is going to talk here next. An attorney, but he tells me not to hold that against him. He's a veteran, 22 years active duty. Served as a volunteer in the Alaska State Defense Force. former legal officer of the Lexington Heritage Association, and he's a member of Veterans of Foreign Wars. I'll introduce each of them just before they come up, if that's okay. Mayor Bright, come on. Oh, I'm sorry. I gotta introduce Adele first. Of course, she is our local talent, amazingly talented. If you haven't heard her sing before, you got a taste of it a little earlier today. She is a singer-songwriter. She's produced, recorded many albums. She calls Alaska her home since she was 6 weeks old. And she's devoted much of her time and performances to charity organizations. Today, she's going to sing Lest We Forget, or America Will Always Stay.
Thank you, Glenn. Thanks so much for everyone to come out today. I just am so honored to be here, and I'm also honored to be singing with the person that's playing the guitar for me today, Wade Nelson. 9 years ago, all of our lives were impacted by the tragic events of 9/11. And 9 years ago, I was singing with a band, and Wade was my bass player. He was a 22-year-old bass player, great enthusiasm. Well, he also loved his country so much that he joined the armed forces just about, a month later? And he served in the Army for 8 years. He's back here today. He was in Iraq and Afghanistan for 44 months total. And I'm just so honored to have him play with me. Thank you so much, Wade.
She stands in the face of evil and will not lose hope or faith. America, the land of freedom, and still the home of the brave. So raise the banner. Walking through the fires of danger, there are those who gave their lives. They're the world's greatest heroes, and we won't forget their sacrifice. So raise the banner. America is not divided.
Well, I've already introduced the next guy. So I'm on with that. Thank you, Adele. Appreciate that. Mayor Rick Ryder. Mayor.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Wasilla on this late, beautiful summer day. Clearly, the evidence of what stands in America and what stands up in our community. We give up such valuable time, with your family and all the other things we have to do in this life. I usually speak off the cuff, but I put a little time into what I wanted to say. And just bear with me. It was the early morning hours of September the 11th here in Wasilla, and I was awakened by a phone call from my older sister, Charlotte, who lives on the North Shore of Boston. Her voice was pitched and breathless. I being groggy from lack of sufficient sleep. Having been staying up late working on a court matter, she said, the plane has struck its twin towers turned on the TV. I got up, looked on the television. First plane, American Flight 11, struck at 8:46 Eastern Standard Time. I watched the news. As I watched the images of the North Tower burning, a second plane, United 175, from Portland via Boston, came on scene and struck the South Tower. I was shocked. This was no accident. My sister, at one time in her long career, was a trained nurse, working emergency rooms in her youth. Calm and controlled person in emergencies. Her voice was on the verge of breaking, and so was she. United 175 had taken off a few mere miles from her home. Such a vicious threat, so close. My mind raced back to where I was, which was a defining moment. President Kennedy was shot. It was the afternoon, the halls of my hometown high school. I was in the 7th grade, I was 12. We were on a 2-platoon system because our old junior high school burned down. So we were sharing the high school with the upperclassmen. It was the 22nd of November, 1963, just before Thanksgiving. A kid from the 8th grade named Chet Stanford, who had bright red hair, was walking down the hall as we changed classes. And he said, 20 guys with machine guns jumped out in Texas and shot Kennedy. Baloney, believe that. Well, we went into the next classroom, and the giant voice came on the overhead microphones. The president was shot in Dallas. President Kennedy is dead. Everybody is going home. The buses were on their way. School was called off with further notice. It was about 2:10 p.m. Eastern Standard. The president was shot at 12:30 in Dallas. It was an hour difference. As many of us who were alive remember that event, September 11th became that type of day, a defining moment. As with December 7th, 1941, day of children in infamy. My parents would fight World War II, and their families would fight from the home front. I recall they all knew where they were and what they were doing when they heard that news. My oldest daughter, Beth, got up, sat on the couch with Daddy. She was about 5 at the time. She saw the second plane strike the tower. She was wondering to me about this, thinking it was just a TV show. For those of you here who know me well, I didn't hide her from the images. 5 is very young, but here, my daughter, but also sad, was the world at its worst. We watched as the media played the images over and over. I worked to explain to a 5-year-old daughter the news grew more grim. The Pentagon was hit, and another plane went down before it hit Washington proper. Pennsylvania. There's been tireless war for the hearts and souls of men. Every attack was thought the acts of 9/11 would bring us to our knees, as it has in other countries, willing to compromise your liberty to for a little safety. The response the world witnessed was anything but a supplication on our knees. As Admiral Yamamoto of the Imperial Japanese Navy stated after the attack at Pearl Harbor, we have awakened a sleeping giant and have filled him with a terrible resolve. Resolve is now a matter of history. But since there is a tireless war for our hearts and our souls, we are also a nation assaulted from within, internal interests from all quarters, pulling, tugging, and tearing. That is the nature and history of all civilizations, brother. It's a struggle with ourselves. I have it on the musing of an editor written 35 years ago in a small newspaper in rural Alaska. His thoughts not only apply to us as Alaskans, but also to us as Americans. He said, there is a price involved in any human activity. For the athlete, it is the discipline of enduring physical pain to increase their stamina. For the poet, concentrating on their descriptive power and hours of writing and rewriting their work. For the Alaskan, their price seems a simple act of living in a place made dynamic by the interface of the idle frontier and clashing philosophies of its people. So it is for us as a nation, a price being paid as we confront the dynamic frontiers of our place in this world and our clashing philosophies of what our place is. America has faced the clash and paid the price numerous times in our history. Mr. Lincoln solemnly faced this a few months after Gettysburg. In the midst of a nation torn apart, again paying the price for our clashing philosophies. In his address at Gettysburg, the President spoke these somber and haunting words with an emotion of a man broken to his very core, with a saddened heart. Mr. Lincoln said, we cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hallow this ground. Brave men living and dead who struggled here, consecrated it far above our poor power to add or detract. Then Mr. Lincoln called on the living these words, these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation, under God, shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, and for the people, shall not perish from the earth. September 11th took us as a state and a nation into a new American era. Do we have the resolve? Shall we not perish from this earth? Is not the site of 9/11 as is Gettysburg as is the bridge to the USS Arizona, hallowed ground? Yes, mere words are not enough. It takes work, courage, and energy. Meeting the challenge, I say for myself, we do have a resolve. Keep heart, Alaska. Keep heart, America. Keep your heart strong. Speak up when challenged. Defend fellow patriot. Keep yourselves, your children, family, fellow citizens close. Your hearts strong. Challenges are for a lifetime. Be vigilant, never lose faith, and God bless you.
Next we have Greg Stoddard and Wes Hammer. Piece called Let's Live Again.
great to see all you here today. My son's in his second week of boot camp at Lackland Air Force Base here in Texas, so you all know where that's at. I'm pretty proud. Greg wrote the two songs we're doing today. Mr. Greg Stoddard wrote both of us.
Check.
They were finally done with that foreign war. But he's only in her dreams, standing up so straight and proud. The ocean waves crash around the bow. The least that we can do is lay a wreath out over you. Your honor we shall defend. Honor we shall defend, lest we forget our military men. A daughter asks her mama, well, is he coming home today? And the answer's just the same as yesterday. She tells her sweetie, Daddy loves you, he's doing all he can, and he's so proud of you, someday you'll understand. But he's only in her dreams, standing up so straight and proud. The ocean waves crash around the bow. The one thing we can do is hold a special place for you. Your honor we shall defend. Honor we shall defend, lest we forget our military men. How do we thank so many who have given so much to keep our children free? We must never forget our history. The men and the women who never made it home to the ones that they loved the most. We salute you, soldiers, for your bravery. Your honor we shall defend. Honor we shall defend, lest we forget our military men. But you're always in our dreams, soaring high above the clouds. The ocean waves fall below your eyes. It's not enough to do to lay a wreath out over you. Your honor we shall defend. Honor we shall defend, lest we forget our military men. Military men. Military men.
This is not a political gathering. It's nonpartisan. Unfortunately, we couldn't get all of the candidates to come. come, some are busy doing other things. So I guess we're blessed to have Joe here, and I'm sorry I couldn't have all of the candidates here for you to hear from them. Joe Miller is the Republican nominee, United States Senate. He came to Alaska 16 years ago, fulfilling his lifelong dream. Growing up in Kansas, he attended West Point. During Operation Desert Storm, he was part of the lead element crossing into Kuwait. For his leadership in combat, Joe received the Bronze Star. After leaving the Army, he attended Yale Law School and moved with his young family to Alaska. Joe has served as a state magistrate and a federal magistrate judge. He and his wife Kathleen and their family now live in Fairbanks. I want to thank Joe for coming here to talk to us today.
Well, I want to thank CPG for putting on this event, the teams and everybody else that are part of that organization who have done a stand-up job in activating the local community, in fact, the community throughout the state, to engage in the political process and be involved in the political process. And I want to thank everyone that's part of that organization for that and for also putting on this event. Mayor Rewright kind of reminded me, kind of brought me back to 9/11, that event where I think each one of us probably had an impression upon ourselves where we're at that date and time that those towers went down. I was in tow. I was a state magistrate out there, hadn't gotten up to work yet, got a panic phone call from a neighbor of mine that said, one tower's down, another one's getting ready to go down. So I went next door, flipped on the TV, and watched the events unfold. You know, within myself, I just felt an incredible amount of despair and shock. I mean, it was surreal. I mean, that's the best way to put it. It was an extreme example of how enemies outside can do incredibly devastating damage to us within our borders. Even within Toke, I mean, here we are, a road system community. It's a road system community. It's still, at that time, you know, I even felt, and the people around us in Toke felt, that this was, you know, something that threatened even us. I mean, we were, at that time, that one singular event that unified us as a nation. We saw an outside threat that attacked us as a people. It was a unifying event. It was also a very important event in many respects. But what came about in the next several days as a nation really activated us, and I think we're still seeing a lot of that yet today. But we saw at the local levels, on the firefighters, the emergency personnel, everybody else joined together in New York City to just do a heroic job in trying to save those that were still alive, to address the catastrophe that hit that city. And it was just an incredible act of human compassion and also of heroism. And I got to tell you that it also helped us begin to focus on a threat that had been growing for years. We as a nation decided to address the threats. We ended up having actions not just in Afghanistan, but also in Iraq. And as a testament to that, 9 years later, we still as a nation have not had one significant act of terrorism within our borders. And that really is a testament to what happened afterwards and to the leadership that our country demonstrated at that point. And of course, why? Why are we safe as a nation? I would like to take this moment, I think that we all ought to recognize our servicemen and women that have been so dedicated to that effort. And in fact, I'm sure many of you here, if you've served or if you're an active duty service member, I'd like each one of you to stand up. Veterans and active duty service members. Now, one thing you'll note, I mean, if you ask a crowd of people in another state or, you know, in the lower 48 to stand up that have served or that are actively serving, you find that it'll be a very small percentage. Alaska is very unique in the sense that we have one of the highest percentage of veterans and active duty service members of any state in the Union. In fact, by some estimates, 70,000 of us that call ourselves Alaskans are veterans or active duty service members. When you include the dependents along with that, almost half the state. I mean, it's just an extraordinary figure. And it shows what Alaskans have done to join that effort. But as we think about the sacrifice, what I don't want you to forget about is what the families have gone through the sacrifice. These deployments in Iraq and Afghanistan, and I deployed once for Desert Storm. It was a 6-month deployment. It was stressful, but I got to tell you, it's nothing like what our current servicemen and women are going through. It is rotation after rotation after rotation. And it's not just the risk of our servicemen and women being put in harm's way, but it's also the impact to their families. And we've got to never forget that we have got to lift those people up, keep them in our prayers, support those dependents of our servicemen and women that go through such a struggle as their spouse is deployed or their father or their mother is deployed. Because it is a dramatic sacrifice that they do that. It's something that's not easy. And I got to tell you, the dependents are probably suffering as much, if not more, as those that are being deployed overseas. So I ask you to support them in every way that you can. Now, I think it's appropriate for us to kind of reflect upon why 9/11 happened. A lot of people will try to oversimplify 9/11. They'll say, oh, well, we were attacked because we support Israel. We were attacked because we kicked Kuwait, or we kicked Iraq out of Kuwait, or that we're in some way involved in another way in the Middle East, or that our foreign policy in some way aggravates our enemies. I got to tell you, that's not why we're. One of the things that really concerns me as we kind of headlong plunge into internationalism, and that's been going on for several decades, but we've seen that accelerate a little bit over the last several years, is that it takes away the exceptional position of our country. We've heard the other speakers talk about that, but I think we as Americans have got to understand the reason that we are a threat to others is because where we are at as a nation. We are an exceptional nation. We're a nation that's founded with the concept that we as the people are the sovereign, we consent to be governed. The rights that we have, government can't take away. And we've got a document called the Constitution that's founded or was intended to restrain government, so government couldn't take those rights away. And those rights are rights that allow us to be free. Our government can't go out and pass a law that puts us in a religious straitjacket, or that somehow confines our actions in a way that some of our enemies would like government to act. Even getting beyond kind of the radical elements that wish to do us harm, even some of the other models, some of the European models of government, they look at government more as a controlling influence, not one that's restrained, not one that is pulled back by government document. And our enemies see us as a free people. That's a threat to their way. Their way is not one of freedom. Their way is one of restraint. Theirs is one of, let's put people in a box the way that we want them to be. We're a nation that's founded on the concept of free choice. You've got the choice to make a decision, of course, within the confines of law, but still, the fundamental freedoms that we have, we're granted, not by government, we're born with them. They're natural law. They come from God. That's really where we're at as a nation. We're under attack because of those principles, and we're under fierce attack, and we've got to recognize that. And my concern as a nation is this. Obviously, and I've made myself clear on this before, and I think many of you joined with me in this concept, that we can't be marching around the world and establishing democracies all over the place. I didn't join the service for that. I don't think many of our servicemen and women that are serving today joined for that purpose. But they did join to protect our national interest. Those freedoms we just talked about are our national interest, obviously. We want to make sure that people can't do us harm. We don't want another 9/11, but my concern is what may be being planned now is far worse than a 9/11. And what we need to realize is it's not necessarily just an attack from Iran that necessarily threatens this nation. It's what can happen within our country if another attack occurs, or one that is much more significant than what we saw on 9/11. If you think that some of these jihadist regimes out there, Ahmadinejad from Iran, for example, we know he wants to destroy the country. We know that Iran, for example, is developing weapons of mass destruction. No question about it. You don't go out there and buy advanced surface air missiles from Russia to protect an underground complex unless you're making something that people in the Western world are concerned about. And I guess my concern is that we as a people may misconceive the threat. The threat is that if we end up with a significant terroristic action on our shores again, a weapon of mass destruction, for example, American people may forget that we are exceptional. American people may forget that they have constitutional freedoms that are at the foundation that we must protect at all costs and instead exchange those rights for security or perceived security. So what does that mean for us as a nation? We've got to do everything we can to protect ourselves. And that has got to be a focus. It's got to be a laser focus. When we see threats, we have to address those, and we can't shy away from them. And we have to, as a nation, be fiscally able to address those things as well. But right now, when we're teetering on the edge of insolvency and bankruptcy, that makes it kind of difficult. Those priorities, those enumerated powers of the government, they kind of slip aside. They get second chair. And yet, even as we're here today, sitting in this room, we have enemies that wish to do us grievous harm, that would love to see the American experiment ended. And they're trying to do everything they can to do that. And they understand how to do it. We as a nation have been activated. We've been activated through 9/11. We're now activated in a political sense. We see a movement across the United States right now that is moving this country in a direction that restores foundations, that restores constitutional principles, and it makes us proud to be Americans again. This country has opportunity. I think it's appropriate to close with a quote from JFK. In 1961, during the height of the Cold War, he said, "In the long history of the world, only a few generations have been granted the role of defending freedom in its hour of maximum danger." As Alaskans, let's seize this moment. Let's recognize the hour we're in and do our part to preserve the constitutional republic. Thank you.
I think again we've got our great singers here, Wes Hamrick and Greg Stoddard. They're going to sing "We the People."
There he goes. Greg and I do a lot of music together. He does tea parties at Anchorage. I do them usually out here. But we usually don't sing together. We send emails back and forth. So this is our second time ever singing together. So, all right.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. God shed His grace on thee. We the people of the United States deserve better from Washington, D.C.
Written in our Constitution, in words as plain as they can be, the Bill of Rights is our solution. You might read them up in Washington, D.C. Well, I remember every school day, pledge allegiance to the flag, as she still waves in all their glory. I can't help but think that somehow we've been had. Speaking up for our nation, our peaceful people serving tea. You can't dismiss us all forever, 'cause we'll vote you out of Washington, D.C. How will we ever let our country get so out of hand? Did we the people make too much faith now in our fellow man? Well, be that as it gonna see the day we the people turn around and cancel Uncle Sam. You didn't even read the packages, but you signed them for us all the same. And we waived our children's futures. Of most of you people are ashamed. Long as I still have the first one, right to speak my mind. Take off little number 2, that's the right to keep my gun. Through our founding fathers' wisdom, we have the right to keep them all from you. How would we ever let our country get so out of hand? If we people don't wake up soon, we're gonna lose our land. Well, we that has a name, I think we're gonna see the day we the people turn around and cancel Uncle Sam. Written in our Constitution, words as plain as they can be. Bill of Rights is our solution. You might read about it in Washington, D.C. One more time. Written in our Constitution, words as plain as they can be. The Bill of Rights is our solution. You might read about it in Washington, D.C. You might read about it in Washington, D.C. Woo! We the people.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Greg.
All those who are ready to stand strong for America, say yay! It's been a wonderful program and my heart is just filled with gratitude. I only became a citizen 10 months ago, so I am just so glad to be one of you! I hope in some small way this program really has encouraged you to stand strong for America. Conservative Patriots Group is promoting and encouraging our youth to learn more about our history. And we are sponsoring an essay contest, and the forms for it are back on the Conservative Patriot table. The age groups are 11 through 14 and 15 through 18. And for the big guys, the first prize is $75. And second and third will earn some money as well. We'd really like our youth, you know, they were just little tiny chickens at that time. They need to learn about what really went on that day and the emotion that was involved with it. I really want to thank everyone who participated in getting this program prepared and ready. It was just amazing to me because we all got the idea about a week and 1 day ago. And this is what happens when America stands together strong. I want you to know that this morning, the 49th Street State Street Riders I think we have a very special guest. Would that special guest please come forward? I think I recognize her. Come on, Sarah. Let's stand and give a big hand to Governor Sarah Palin.
Day and the kids come first, okay? So we're taking care of that. But first, let me ask you, do you love your freedom? We do love our freedom, so what we do is we make a bet. And we have some bets right here. We have bets all over this crowd. Raise your hand if you've served in the past or presently serving in the United States military. We love you and we salute you. God bless you guys. Thank you guys so much. You're why we are here, why we are free, why we have these protections in our Constitution that only you can secure. So we thank our vets. It's just really, really good to be home. Tonight, I think I'll see some of you at a Glenn Beck event that we have in Anchorage. I know, what would we do without Fox News? I know. We've had a busy time getting to travel around the United States and share the message of really the reform in this country that we need. The reform is not a fundamental transformation of America that some would want to instill upon us, but it is a restoration of America and the values that we hold so dear, and that's been our message. I'll tell you where that springs from, though, is the roots here in Alaska. I tell my parents all the time, there is no better gift that they could have given me than, besides such an appreciation for family and for faith and patriotism. It's been an upbringing in America, in this most perfect state in America, Alaska, where we are independent and we have a pioneering spirit that more of America should hopefully get to look into this state and understand and really try to emulate, because it's that pioneering spirit that America needs more of. It's a spirit that really wants to value work ethic and value family and value country and not ask much of government. We just want government on our side. We don't want it against us. We just want it on our side. So it's not a lot to ask. But that value, that belief, it comes from being an Alaskan. There is no place that I would rather be than with you on a day like this. Patriots in Alaska. Patriots here who have taken the time out of their day to say that we will never forget 9/11. 9 years ago, we will never forget, and we all commit to never letting it happen again. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart for not just welcoming me in my hometown, but for being who you are. True patriots, holding on to time-tested truths, knowing some basic principles that, again, the rest of America, I think, can learn from so many Alaskans who believe this. Those time-tested truths that are based on the government that governs least, governs best. And the knowledge that it's our Constitution that provides the best path, the best blueprint for a more perfect union. And the knowledge that our men and women in uniform are a source for good throughout this world that has nothing to apologize for. So you Alaskans who are so proud to be American, I'm with you, I love you, God bless you, God bless the United States of America. Thank you guys.
Now we can finish our program. Glenn kept telling you all week we might have a special visitor. Wasn't that a wonderful surprise for us all? As I was saying, this morning the 49th state. Oh, closer. This morning, the 49th State Street Riders had their annual 9/11.
Stand beside her and guide her. white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless you. Thank you so much.
Thanks everybody for coming. God bless you.
Everybody, don't forget the contribution bag is this way, or we'll have to pay
Thank you.
Nice to see you, Phil. Are you still taking pictures? You did this one?
That's being made to the national stage.
Right on, Phil.
I didn't take it.
You're the eagle lady, huh?
No, it's another meeting.
Okay, good.
It's special.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Take a picture with the ballerina. Hi, girl. How are you? You didn't come with us? I'm going to.
He's taken so many pictures of us with you and has fun with you.
Or, do you have a camera? Get your camera.
You learned all about it. Okay, good. I remember those days. take one picture, I promise. I promise one person, Piper.
Good night, Governor.
See you guys.
Thank you, Sarah.